two morons in the press box, and me. They're dancing to the intro music from the 2's.
We'll see if I get you quotes anymore.
Well, I don't even know what dance you were doing. I was afraid to look. I think John was doing the mashed potato straight out of 1956. I don't know why. It was a weird game tonight. 2-2 for the 2's against Sporting Kansas City. Heavy legs at times, mistakes, mental and physical at times. Really good performance from Sporting Kansas City, too, on a full week's rest. Enoch Mushagalusa with 2 goals, very dangerous on the left flank. I think the first half, the right flank was where the problems were coming from for Sporting Kansas City, too. But a lot of heart in the performance from Atlanta United, too. They fell behind twice. They fought back and got a result. They had opportunities to maybe get a little bit more, but, Jarrett, this looked like a team that was tired at times and couldn't find their best stuff consistently.
Yeah, it felt like a team that had both physical and mental fatigue. At times where it's just you're putting your head down to kind of suck wind a bit and get some air back in your lungs, and you might miss the opportunity here or there, or you're a half second late, picking up your man you're supposed to be picking up, or you're a half second late on a challenge, or, recognizing the run. And it wasn't all night. I mean, there were some really good moments, but you just saw those moments of they just played a physically and emotionally demanding game 4 days ago. And here they were again in a game that got really dumb really late. It started raining. You had 4 goals in, 10 minutes?
14.
4 goals in 14 minutes. It was a really weird game, and it had to be exhausting both mentally and physically. And I think Coach Collison recognized that. He was proud of the fight, but also recognized there are areas they've got to get better in.
Yeah, one of the things that he said to us this week when we interviewed him for Soccer Down Here, John, was he's looking for consistency out of this group. And with the physical demands of 2 games in 4 days, it was hard to find that consistency tonight.
Yeah, it was ragged at times. There were flashes of positivity, of activity, shots on net against a younger side. And, you had the one big kick save by Alec Can there in the first half to preserve a goalless match. And you could tell that it was a bit of a rough night for Caleb Wiley coming back on short rest and getting back into the starting lineup. But you had great work from Josh Bauer tonight at the back as a part of it as well. And you had work early from Efren Morales that as he's trying to get back into match fitness. So there were flashes and bits and pieces for a team coming back on short rest.
I thought Efrain Morales was outstanding. He just wasn't able to go a whole lot more than 60 minutes. Caleb Wiley struggled in the first half, but rebounded to really shut down that side of the field in the second. And that's an incredible sign for a young player to have to deal with Roger Smith and Pierre, who was really good tonight. Mm-hmm. And, get his lunch handed to him a little bit in the first half. But Caleb Wiley got it back in the second. And that's not easy for a young player to do. A lot of times they get inside their own heads. You mentioned Bauer. He was the player rated the highest on SofaScore with a 7.7, followed by Bradley Camden-Feo and Chris Allen, 7.6 and 7.5. Coleman Gannon off the bench with a goal. Efrain Morales and Alec Can all earned marks over a 7. The scoring summary opened up with Mensah assisting Mushagalusa in the 61st for Kansas City. Bradley Camden-Feo off of a set piece, a header in the 67th, made it even at 1s. Mushagalusa on an assist from Dia in the 69th minute restored the lead for Sporting Kansas City 2. And then Coleman Gannon doesn't get an assist on the play. Gannon gets the goal. Looked like Robbie Mertz might have tried to lay it off. It was brilliant work down the left from David Mejia. Gannon with a left-footed rocket at 2-2, 74th minute. Jared, I thought there was going to be a 5th goal in this game. I didn't know who was going to get it, but I thought there was one more goal and a winner coming.
Yeah, right. Actually, as the last shot from Sporting Kansas City flew over the bar, we were sitting in the press box saying, there's at least one more good chance in this game. Both teams were getting forward. Both teams were looking for a winner. And if they made mistakes and turned the ball over, there was absolutely opportunity for both teams to find that winner. We saw it with Atlanta. You had just a flurry of activity, including a really nicely worked set piece that involved a dummy back to Chris Allen, who fired a rocket that was knocked away. Then Bauer has a header that goes just wide a moment later. One moment after that, you get a really nice cross in that Mejia hits maybe 6 inches wide of the post. That was one of those the keeper just had to kind of use the force to push it wide because he was never going to react to it. You had these flurries of, it felt like you could have had another goal or two going either direction there. It's funny you bring up the Sofa score, though, because, yeah, you had 2 defenders really highly rated. And in a game where you give up 2 goals, that may seem kind of weird, but, man, Bauer was really good tonight, especially with his long distribution. He hit a number of diagonals in the first half where he was picking out Connor Stanley just on a dime if he wanted to and trying to unbalance Sporting Kansas City.
Yeah, we'll get into a little bit of the performances individually with each of the units on the field. Statistics, 57% of the possession for Atlanta United 2, 43 for Sporting Kansas City 2. Kansas City outshot Atlanta 13-8. Shots on target, they had 6. Atlanta had 4. Passing percentage is 86% for Atlanta, 75 for Kansas City. Duels won. Atlanta won that 66-52. They won the aerial duels as well, 19-15. Tackles 25-12 for Atlanta. That's a big difference in the overall aggressiveness. One of the numbers that will stand out is 9 offsides for Atlanta.
I was going to ask about that.
That was an issue consistently all night. I thought Matias Benitez really struggled tonight in a lot of phases of play, but especially with just consistently being a step or 2 off. It was a game of 2 halves in a lot of different ways. The possession's about the same in the first and second half. 57% in the first for Atlanta, 58% in the second. But 2 shots in the first half for Atlanta, 6 in the second. In the first half, Atlanta was outshot 8-2. In the second half, they outshot Kansas City 6-5. All the goals came in the second half, which is kind of weird. But it was a game that, maybe it's the tired legs, maybe it's just the way the 2 teams play, John, but the second half opened up a lot.
It did. And you mentioned Roger Smith and Caden Pierre working down the right-hand side for Sporting Kansas City. You got to see Enoch Mushagalusa on the second goal. He got past Riley and Bauer on a great individual effort there. And so there was a lot of back and forth. And in a game that gets stretched like this, you're going to have those moments. And for Atlanta United, too, it was some of the moments like Jarrett was talking about with all the close calls that were there and the shots that were close that Gavin Kornecki was close in getting a hand on or made sure that they weren't going to get in the back of the net. And the same for Atlanta United, too. But no, there was a lot of back and forth in that second 45. And one of the things that also stuck out to me was that in his second match, Jack Collison got the subs right in the second half. The substitutions that were brought in, Will Riley and Coleman Gannon came in the 59th. And then you have David Mejia come in 2 minutes later. Mejia and Gannon connect for that equalizer at 2-2. So Collison was hitting the right buttons in a stretched second half.
Yeah, that sequence started with a foul that Riley earned as well. So all 3 of the subs were involved in the second goal. Let's start from the back, looking at the individual numbers from tonight. Alec Kann got a 7 from Sofa score. He had 4 saves, all of the saves from inside the box, a couple of really good ones. Did have to come outside of his area a few times. He was 81% passing, 35 of 43, and he was 6 of 14 on the long ball. It's something that started to zero in on a little bit more as we look at Atlanta United and Atlanta United 2. It feels like with the 2's, and maybe it's the competition, maybe it's the way the games play out, the goalkeepers are on the ball a little bit more, and they're also not going long as much. It's a difference. It's an interesting little difference. But I thought Alec Kann, it's always been a question about him with the ball at his feet, Jarrett. I thought he was very good with that tonight.
This was a talking point, actually, during the game, and I had a couple people reach out about it, and we talked about it in the press box, that how Kann is markedly improved with the ball at his feet from where he was 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yep.
You go back to 2017 when he was starting for this team in the first half of 2017. That's a different player, in my opinion, out there right now with the ball at his feet, and not just hitting those long balls. He had a couple really nice long balls in distribution, but his comfort with the ball at his feet even in short distribution where he's not panicking, he's comfortable making the passes. I thought he did a good job coming out of his box, especially at times in the second half. Getting out there, he had one late in the second half where he gets outside of his box to the left-hand side and has to slide and kind of poke it about 30 yards away. Does a really good job there. It's a marked improvement, and look, I know every time Alec Kann does something, we're going to get tweets about that he should be starting, but wherever he sits, Atlanta fans should be really thankful to have a guy like Alec Kann who can jump in if he needs to get between the pipes on either one of these teams, the first team or second team.
Yeah, can turn to him, and there's no concerns about anything with Alec Kann. He's fully back after the shoulder surgery in the offseason. Backline tonight was Wiley on the left, Camden Feo as the center back, along with Bauer, and on the right side it was Aiden McFadden. McFadden got about half as many touches as the rest of the backline because I think it's kind of clear the way Atlanta United 2 plays. They want to get McFadden on the end of things as opposed to being involved in all of the build-up sequences. He's so dangerous getting on the end of passes, on the end of sequences. Wiley will start with, on what some would consider a rough night for him, he was 60 of 65 on his passing. That's 92%. Defensively, he had 4 tackles that he won. And I thought what he was so good at tonight, one, he shut down the right side of Kansas City in the second half. First half, he was having some problems.
Yep.
But he was so good at recovering after it looked like maybe he was going to be beaten initially, and he would make the play. 4 tackles, only dribbled past 1 time tonight, Caleb Wiley.
Yeah, the closing speed that you would see in those instances where it would look like Sporting Kansas City 2 would have that activity on the right-hand side, and then all of a sudden, if you're looking at a short picture screen, all of a sudden you just see screaming in from camera left is Caleb Wiley to close things down, so that entry pass that either Pierre or Smith would try to work in with the right into the area and possibly inside the 6, that option wasn't there. And so the closing speed we got to see from Caleb Wiley when he needed to hit that extra gear was evident too.
Center backs Bauer and Camden Feo. Bauer, 102 touches, 62 of 74 on his passes, 84%, 13 out of 18 on the long ball. Bradley Camden Feo, 91% passing, 72 of 79, 11 out of 14 on the long ball. And then on the defensive side, Bauer had 7 clearances, 3 blocked shots, 2 interceptions, 4 tackles. He was everywhere and doing everything. He had a header late in the game that he should have put on goal. Camden Feo had 6 clearances, a tackle, and interception. For a duo that has played together a little bit this season, Jarrett, Bauer and Camden Feo, even on a night where they gave up 2 goals, were consistently solid in the middle of the park.
They were, and it's a tough transition too for Camden Feo because he's played a lot of left back recently in his career. He mentioned he had played center back in the day, but it's not a recent development for him. This is something kind of new for him. He talked about it being, he said, this is a new position for me. Played center back a little bit in the past, but not a regular thing. He gave a lot of credit, I'll tell you. He gave a lot of credit to Alec Kann. Said everybody's been communicating, and Kann does a great job in communicating with he and Bauer both as two of the quote-unquote veteran-aged players on this team. But he gave a lot of credit to everybody for communicating and the way everybody's coming together, and he also had a lot of praise for the entire team in terms of just the maturity that these kids play with. And I think that does make it a little bit easier on the back 2, back 3, however you want to group it.
McFadden won 3 tackles tonight, had an interception, created 2 chances, including a big chance that he created, 2 out of 4 on the long ball. McFadden doesn't see the ball as much in that build-up phase. He's getting on the end of it, but he's very, very dangerous when he gets into those spots. Chris Allen also created 2 chances tonight, 46 of 49 passing. Was able to push forward a little bit more in the first half. 6 of 8 with the big long pass. That was something consistently, John. Atlanta United with Camden Feo connecting on 11 long balls, Kann connecting on 6, Bauer connecting on 13, Allen 6 of 8. They consistently were able to hit the big switch tonight to open the play up.
That, yes, and it was, one of those things that, for those of us who are up here in the press box, you could see that idea opening up. And then it's one thing to see it, and then the second to actually see it progress to where it happens, to where you get the switch and you can work things. to where initially you have Sporting Kansas City 2 drawn forward and drawn toward one idea, then you hit the big switch and can hit them the other way. And so that was something that we got to see from Atlanta United 2 tonight that was part and parcel to them getting those opportunities. The big switch worked well.
All right, I want to get into Efrain Morales' game. We've talked about him as a center back for most of his time in an Atlanta shirt. I think we're seeing this season that he might not be a center back. He might actually be a large number 6.
Yes.
Tonight, 59 minutes. He's still getting all the way back to fitness. He's battled injuries all of 2021. But in 59 minutes of play, he was 25 of 28 passing, won 5 of 8 duels, all on the ground. And, again, for somebody who's 6'3" and maybe a little bit more than that, that's a lot. 2 interceptions, 3 tackles, again, in 59 minutes of play. Efrain Morales was struggling at the end of it, of his time on the field, but Morales is a player who even won a dribbling attempt. He's a player who could really bring a unique set of skills to the next level, Jared.
He makes that entire back line a physical uniqueness. Because when he does drop back, I thought he did a bit of work with Allen where they were taking turns, kind of somebody would get forward, somebody was dropped back. Mm-hmm. The communication was good. We saw it actually Sunday with Will Riley in that role with Allen instead. But the communication was good, but he's such a unique physical specimen. And we were, it's one of those things we discussed that he still has some growing to do. In terms of growing into his frame, because if he can keep the athleticism that he has and grow into his frame, he becomes a very interesting physical problem for teams to have to solve. When you think about the way Atlanta is structured in terms of raw size with their center backs, and then you throw in a guy who might end up being 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", playing as a holding midfielder who drops back into that back line, it creates a really interesting problem for other teams to have to solve, because it's not just, this isn't bully ball in the 80s of you just have a bunch of Stonehenge monoliths back there. He can play with the ball at his feet, as he showed. And he can read the game really well. And it's such a different animal when you're looking at, oh, that guy's huge. Oh, no, that guy can play with the ball at his feet, and he's huge.
Robbie Mertz tonight went the 90. He was 31 of 35 passing. He was really involved in some key moments of the match. I thought, his contributions are a little bit understated and don't really show up on the stat sheet. Mertz is starting to develop some really nice connections, John, with Chris Allen, with Will Riley, with the rest of the central midfield. He's able to drop deep. He's able to step up high. He's very quick to make decisions and open things up. I thought Robbie Mertz was very good tonight.
Yeah, and when you have a veteran like Robbie Mertz, who we've seen in years past in USL Championship, and you have that veteran presence to help out with the younger players, to be that stabilizer that's there and can be also that fulcrum that can work with the relationships in the middle of the pitch, and you can sit there and work to the edges and spring things. There would be instances where you'd see him chest it, get that good first touch, then work quickly to try to find the outlet and get things sprung and get things moving in the attacking third. And so when you see somebody like Robbie Mertz, who's getting acclimated to the role that he's being asked to do here with Atlanta United 2 and becoming more and more comfortable in it in his fourth match with Atlanta United 2 this season, coming off the injury, you're seeing him getting game sharp, and you're seeing his game evolve as we go now as well.
Front three, Matias Benitez, Connor Stanley, Darwin Mateos. It felt like Mateos was a little anonymous at times tonight. He went 60 minutes. Was perfect on his 8 of 8 passing, but wasn't in a lot of dangerous situations. Had the shot from the top of the 18 that went over. That was really his biggest contribution. Connor Stanley was dangerous in a lot of phases of play. He was 9 of 15 winning duels tonight. I thought he was a problem at times for Kansas City. Matias Benitez, we mentioned it earlier, Jarrett. Benitez worked really hard. I don't think there's any questions about his work rate, but consistently offside tonight. And that broke up a lot of dangerous attacks. Benitez was called offside 5 times tonight.
I kept waiting for him to time one just right. Because he was right there. There were a couple times where we looked up and he was offside, and it was really close. I wasn't 100% sure. There were a couple times where he was a couple steps offside and it was pretty obvious, but he was kind of riding that line. But you can ride that line, but you got to get right sometimes, and he's got to do that. And I think we had talked about it bigger than that with the turnovers in his own half when he's coming back to have the ball and he's trying to make something happen. And it's one of those things where it's just not the venue to know when or when not to make something happen. I was a fan of Stanley. I also thought, Stanley was one of those guys where that kind of mental fatigue showed at times where, he missed the early cross here or there where it wasn't that he missed a huge chance at a play and nothing broke. He didn't panic and turn the ball over, but I also thought he was one of those guys that, we saw just the fatigue take on where he missed a play he might have hit perfectly on Sunday, which is just part of it. He still fought through it and played really well.
Yeah, what's interesting is when you look at the contributions from the attacking players in this team, Benitez won a couple of tackles. Stanley won a couple of tackles, was fouled 4 times as well. Mm-hmm. Coleman Gannon off the bench in limited minutes won 2 tackles. The substitutes tonight, Gannon, Riley, and Mejia. John, what do you think of them?
Well, it goes back to what we've been talking about the development of the academy players. And we've seen in the past David Mejia come in the second half as a substitute and be that microwave, be that instant source of energy. And it was 2 minutes, and then he comes in and he's a part of the goal. And you mentioned earlier that it was Riley and Gannon and Mejia that were all involved in that equalizer that made it 2-2. Coleman Gannon, for me, has just always had endless amounts of energy, and he'll be in any position, any place, and it's just like, all right, where am I integrating? Where am I going? You could see him pressuring all the way up top. You'd see him over on the edges. And, you look at Will Riley as well, putting in the 30 minutes that he put in. So for me, looking at the substitutes, you end up with the instant energy from Mejia, the energy from Coleman Gannon, and the stability from Will Riley at the back. Once again, it's just part and parcel to their gradual evolution and continued experience here with Atlanta United, too. They're continuing to grow.
Mejia had the opportunity late. I thought he was going to have a game winner. I thought Mejia was really dangerous consistently once he came on. Gannon gets the equalizer. Riley was his usual solid self in the middle of the park. The 2's had an opportunity to go to the top of the table in the Central Division. They are not going to be there at the end of the night. Birmingham Legion on 13 points in first place through 7 games. Atlanta United 2, 12 points through 8, 3-2-3 on the year. Indy 11 currently losing right now as we record this to El Paso. If that stays where it is, they will be in third place on 10 points. FC Tulsa, after the hot start, have lost 3 in a row, but they sit in the final playoff spot on 9 points through 6 games. Louisville City's only played 5 times, but they only have 7 points. They're on the outside looking in. Sporting Kansas City 2, 1-3-4 now on the year. This is their second point on the road. They're on 7 points through 8 matches. Memphis 901 with 3 straight results. They're 1-1-2. 5 points through 4 games, and OKC Energy yet to win this season, but they do have 4 draws, and they have back-to-back draws. They've drawn 4 of their last 5. They're on 4 points. Feels like this is going to be a division that, for one, Atlanta United 2 will be in a race to get into a playoff spot, which is the first time that we've really had that conversation, and 2, a division that is going to be topsy-turvy throughout the USL Championship season.
You're going to have to just take it in stride because there's going to be times during the season when you look at it and Atlanta's going to be below that playoff line. There's going to be times you look at it, they're going to be above that playoff line. And you got to take it, cliche as it is. I think I got to put $1 in a swear jar.
$1 in a swear jar.
Take it one game at a time.
Oh, that's 2.
So the 2's have been really good on the road this year. Their next game is on the road. They go to Memphis 901, who has been on a little bit of a hot streak. They got their first win of the season in their last time out. That'll be on the 16th of June before coming back home on the 27th. After this crowded little bit, Jack Collison will get a chance to actually breathe with this group a little while and have 2 games in the span of, 3 weeks. And that'll be a big opportunity for a new manager, a young manager, to continue to build on what he saw in the last 4 days, John.
Yeah, and you mentioned that with the gap space that we're going to see with Atlanta United 2 on the flip side for that Sporting Kansas City 2. after tonight, their next match is at FC Tulsa on the 16th. They have 4 matches in 11 days, 3 of them on the road at Tulsa, at home to Indy on Sunday, a week in at OKC, and then 11th day, the 4th match in 11 days at Memphis 901. So Sporting KC2, they're going to get that stretch where they're going to have to get a lot of things done in a very short period of time if they're going to try to stay in the race and get close to the playoff line as well.
We'll see about the 2's. We'll see them in a week's time up in Memphis, as Jack Collison will have a week to prepare. The team looks like they need some time off. They need a little bit of a break, but they did fight through to get a point tonight. Thanks for listening to the 2's review. Thanks for watching the game. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch the second half especially. It was a fun match with both teams trying to play, both teams looking for a winner consistently. Really good advertisement for both clubs, both parent clubs, Atlanta United and Sporting Kansas City, and a good advertisement for the USL Championship as well. We'll be back with another 2's review after that game in Memphis. Y'all have a good night. Mucho platio.
Mucho platio.
Mucho platio.